I never thought I'd be capable of what I did. But then again, I never thought he'd betray me like that. My name is Claire Maddox. I'm 35, live in a suburb just outside of Charleston, South Carolina, and I've been in real estate for over a decade. I know every trick in the book. How to stage a home to hide the water damage, how to read a buyer before they even say a word, how to push just enough to close a deal. But none of that prepared me for what happened last year. It all started with a house. Of course, right? That's what I do. Buy and sell homes. But this one wasn't just a listing, it was the listing. A 6-bedroom colonial on Lake Leland with wraparound porches, a dock, and views that could make a grown man cry. A house like that doesn't just pay the bills. It makes your career. I'd worked my ass off to get that listing, wined and dined the owners, took their bratty teenagers to a Panthers game, even pretended to like their yappy little dog. It was mine. Until he took it. Ethan West, the golden boy of Weston Waverly Realty. My coworker, my ex-boyfriend, and the kind of man who thinks smiling while stabbing you in the back makes it less of a betrayal. He wasn't supposed to be on the radar for that listing. He didn't know the family, hadn't even stepped foot on Lake Leland in years. But somehow, he swooped in and stole it from under me. I found out when I showed up at the property one morning, Starbucks in hand, keys ready, and saw his goddamn Audi already parked in the driveway. He was inside, laughing, with the homeowners. "Claire," he said, like we were old college buddies. "Didn't realize you were coming by today." I stood there in the foyer, stunned. My fingers clenched around the key I was still holding. Mrs. Hartley looked between us, clearly uncomfortable. "Oh dear. Didn't the office tell you? We decided to go with Ethan after all." His pitch just felt fresher. Fresh. That was the word she used. Like I was week-old bread and he was a goddamn baguette straight from Paris. That moment changed everything. I wanted to scream, break a lamp, set fire to the immaculate white couch. But I didn't. I smiled. I said it was fine. I wished them the best of luck. And then I walked out. What they didn't know, and what Ethan had clearly forgotten, was that I had access. Not just to their alarm code and the lockbox, but to everything. Their staging plans, their preferred contractor, the open house schedule, even their dog walker's number. For 2 weeks, I stewed, played nice in the office, watched Ethan strut around like a peacock, bragging about his big sale. But inside, something had cracked. And once it cracked, there was no going back. The first thing I did was simple. I canceled the landscaper. Next, I accidentally sent out a batch of old photos to the MLS, the ones from before the renovation, back when the kitchen looked like a meth lab and the backyard was more swamp than lawn. Then, I created a fake Yelp account. Several, actually. One accused Ethan of inappropriate comments during a showing. Another claimed he ignored a mold infestation. I posted them all over the place. Yelp, Zillow, even the neighborhood's Facebook group. But that wasn't enough. I needed more. I needed him to feel it. So I went to the open house, wore a wig, sunglasses, big fake ring, pretended to be interested in a forever home for my 5 rescue cats. And right before I left, I flushed a wad of wet paper towels down the upstairs toilet. Backed it up so bad the next visitors had to step over a puddle in the hallway. By the time Monday rolled around, Ethan was spiraling. He confronted me in the break room. "What the hell are you doing, Claire?" I raised my eyebrows. "I don't know what you're talking about." His jaw clenched. "Don't play dumb. You're sabotaging me." I sipped my coffee. "Maybe you should have thought of that before you stole my listing." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he said, "You're going to regret this." But I didn't. Not for a second. Because this was just the beginning. By Wednesday, word had already spread. The Hartleys pulled the listing. Apparently, someone had tipped off a local inspector about serious plumbing concerns and a black mold issue in the attic. And whether or not that mold was real, who's to say? What was real was the fact that the sale fell through, and Ethan looked like an idiot. The best part? He still didn't have proof it was me. He started acting paranoid at the office, checking, over his shoulder, muttering to himself during team meetings. practically snapping at the intern because she brought him a latte with almond milk instead of oat. I was living, but I couldn't stop there. Not yet. I knew Ethan. He'd find a way to weasel back into someone's good graces. He always did. So I had to hit him where it really hurt, his ego. I dug up an old email thread from when we dated. The one where he bragged about how he got his license through a buddy who cut corners, and joked that the licensing exam was a total joke if you had the right answers. I had that email printed, scrubbed of my name, and leaked to a local real estate watchdog blog. They ran it. Top Charleston agent bragged about cheating licensing system. Exclusive leak inside. His face turned ghost white when he saw the headline. I watched him read it from across the office, pretending to scroll through Zillow on my screen. His fingers tightened around his phone, and for a second, I thought he might throw it through the glass wall. I almost wished he had. Instead, he stormed into his manager's office and slammed the door. They were in there for nearly 40 minutes. When he came out, he looked smaller, shrunken. That was new. But the cherry on top? The office party that Friday. It was Cheryl's 60th birthday, and Weston Waverly went all out. Open bar, string lights in the courtyard, a jazz trio playing covers of Dua Lipa songs. Everyone was there, including Ethan. He tried to act normal, smiling, shaking hands, wearing that stupid navy blazer that made him look like a discount game show host. But I could see it in his eyes. He knew he was bleeding. And I was the shark in the water. I waited until he was on his second whiskey, maybe third, and then casually strolled up beside him. "Tough week?" I asked sweetly. He looked at me like he wanted to slap the smile off my face. "You're really proud of yourself, huh?" he muttered. I shrugged. "You did it to yourself, Ethan." "Bullshit," he hissed. "You're obsessed with me." That made me laugh. Like really laugh. I couldn't help it. The audacity of this man. "No, sweetie," I said, leaning in close. "I'm not obsessed. I'm just cleaning up the trash." He stared at me for a second, then said something I'll never forget. "This isn't over." I smiled. "Oh, I know. Because here's the thing. He thought this was about a listing. But it wasn't. Not really. The truth? This all started long before Lake Leland. People always say revenge is about ego, that it's some kind of wounded pride thing. But for me, it was grief. It was betrayal. It was heartbreak with no funeral. See, Ethan didn't just steal a listing. He stole my life. 3 years ago, we were more than just colleagues, more than just another office fling. We were house hunting together, talking about kids. Sunday brunch with his mom kind of serious. It wasn't perfect. God, no. Ethan was charming in public and a ghost in private. One minute I'd feel like the only woman in the world, and the next he'd be texting running late for the third night in a row. Still, I loved him. Or at least, I loved who I thought he could be. The real unraveling started the day I found the photo. I was at his apartment, he was in the shower, and I was looking for a charger. His nightstand drawer wouldn't close right, so I tugged it open. There it was, a photo of him. With her, blonde, smiling, leaning into him like it was the most natural thing in the world. They were on a boat, Lake Leland, same damn dock as the house he'd later steal from me. At first I thought maybe it was old, maybe she was an ex. But then I flipped it over. There, in his unmistakable scrawl, July 18th, best day yet, love you R. My birthday was July 19th. He was with her the day before. He took me to dinner that night, held my hand across the table, told me he couldn't imagine his life without me. I didn't confront him. I wish I could say I threw the photo in his face, screamed, packed my bags. But I didn't. I put it back, closed the drawer. And that night, I let him kiss me like nothing had changed. It took me 3 weeks to leave. By then, she was no longer a secret. I saw them together at an art show downtown. She introduced herself as Rachel, said she and Ethan had just moved in together, gushed about how lucky she was to have found someone who gets her. He didn't even flinch. I walked out. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just left. And for a while I told myself it didn't matter, that I'd bounce back. But the thing about betrayal is, it's like mold behind a wall. You don't see it right away, but it festers. It eats at you. So when Ethan stole that listing, it wasn't just business. It was war. I started planning, not just little sabotage tricks. No, I wanted him ruined, career-wise, reputation-wise, relationship-wise. I wanted him exposed, and I knew exactly where to start. Because Rachel, she wasn't just Ethan's girlfriend anymore. She was his fiancée, and she had no idea who I was, yet. It didn't take much to find her. Rachel Langston, art therapist, yoga enthusiast. She ran a pop-up studio out of a boutique wellness center near the waterfront. She had an Instagram full of pastel smoothies and quotes like, "Vibrate higher. Babe, she was everything I'm not. Soft, trusting, innocent." And I was about to shatter her. I started small, showed up to one of her intentional watercolor workshops under a fake name, Samantha Keller. Told her I was new to the area and just trying to find some healing. God, she ate it up. She smiled like we were instant soulmates. Gave me a discount on her next class, said I had an open energy. Barf. I signed up for 3 more. Over. The next 2 weeks we got close. We talked about crystals and exes and how hard it was to trust people. I told her a very carefully crafted version of my story, leaving out names, but not the pain. She nodded along, sympathetic, sweet, completely oblivious. Then, one afternoon after class, I dropped the match. You ever think you really know someone, and then you find out he's not who you thought? She tilted her head, curious. You mean like cheating? Worse, I whispered. Lying, manipulating, living a double life. I could see her wheels turning. That happened to me, I said, staring into my tea like I was fighting back tears. He was with me for months, while he was engaged to someone else. She blinked. Oh my God. I nodded. And when I found out, it almost broke me. Silence stretched between us. Then she reached out and touched my hand. Some men are just sick, she said. I wanted to scream. No, honey. Some men are named Ethan. But I didn't. Not yet. I wanted her to feel it. Deep in her chest. The slow, creeping suspicion. The invisible unraveling. I wanted her to question everything he ever said. So I waited. I didn't even have to follow up. 3 days later, she called me. She said she needed to talk, that she felt crazy, but couldn't ignore the signs. She didn't say his name. She didn't have to. We met for coffee. She was shaking. Said she found a message on his laptop. Some flirty exchange with a client named Dina. Ethan had claimed it was just professional. Do you think I'm overreacting? She asked me, her voice barely above a whisper. I looked her dead in. The eyes. No. I think your intuition is screaming at you for a reason. By the end of the week, she moved out of their apartment. Ethan showed up at the office on Monday looking like death. Unshaven, pale, eyes bloodshot. He didn't say a word to anyone. Just closed his door and didn't come out for hours. A week later, he took personal leave. 2 weeks after that, his name disappeared from the office roster. Just like that. Gone, and me, I got promoted. Senior agent, Weston Waverly. Corner office. Bigger listings, more respect. Poetic, isn't it? But here's the part I didn't expect. The part no one warns you about. When the dust settles, and the villain is vanquished, and you've won the war, it gets quiet. Too quiet. Sometimes I wonder if Rachel ever figured it out. If she put the pieces together. If she knows the new friend, who helped her see the truth, was also the woman he cheated on her with. That I didn't just destroy him. I manipulated her to do it. But then I remind myself, I didn't lie. I just revealed the truth. And if that makes me the villain in someone else's story, so be it, because in mine, I'm the goddamn hero. It's funny. I thought ruining Ethan would feel like closure, like peace. But some nights, I still hear his voice. Not the charming one, the one from the fight. The one that said, "This isn't over." Sometimes I wonder if he's watching, waiting, planning. But then I look around. My office, my listings, my calm, curated life. And I remember. He underestimated me. They always do. So I sleep with one eye open now. Not out of fear, out of habit. Because once you've walked through fire, you don't flinch at smoke.